Well, there are times in all relationships that you need your space, where you can retreat to another bedroom maybe for a bit of kip. Whether your partner's snoring, you've got different body temperatures, one throws off the blanket, the other puts more on, restless leg syndrome, or keeping different schedules as well. But would you think that sleeping in separate rooms is increasingly being credited with keeping couples together? It's called sleep divorce, and it's highly valued, apparently, by a growing number of couples. New research from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine found that 21% of adults, all adults in the States, sleep in a different space to their partners. That percentage is higher in younger couples. I can't believe this. 26% of Americans aged 25 to 34 claim to do so. Jeez. At that young age? Dan Ford is the clinical director of the Better Sleep Clinic in New Zealand, specialises in sleep and insomnia therapies, and he joins me now. Dan, good evening.
Evening, Leah. How are you?
I'm good. Look, I can't believe that, 25 to 34-year-olds claim they sleep in separate bedrooms at that age. That's just shocking to me. Dan, I know that you work with people that have got sleep problems, and I want to get to a bit of that a little later on in our convo. But how common is sleep divorce here, and why the heck do they call it divorce? It sounds like you're breaking up.
Yeah, well, probably sleep divorce is a bit of a misnomer. It's not the marital discord as such that you might associate with a divorce. That people are probably doing it to improve their relationship, if anything, and it seems to people report that it does improve their relationship by sleeping in separate areas. As for what's happening in New Zealand, not too certain, but yeah, that research generally New Zealand follows the US trends and Australia to a degree as well, and it seems to be around about 43% of millennials, according to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, sleep separately
Wow.
on a really reasonably consistent basis, and then you've got your Gen X. Gen Z seems to be about 1/3, and then baby boomers is about 20%.
Okay. Have you worked with people that literally can't sleep next to someone else?
Yes, absolutely. I've worked with people that it's kind of often they've experienced some sort of trauma. And there may be a traumatic relationship there, and some stuff around the bed and bedroom, and sometimes it might have just been maybe it wasn't a trauma per se, but they just had a partner who was difficult around sleep, or was very challenging when they didn't get a good night's sleep and they felt the other person had disturbed them. So definitely.
Do you think it needs to be permanent then, Dan? Would you encourage maybe just a trial period of sleeping apart? I suppose it depends on the situation, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it is quite situational. Obviously, the people that we work with have sleep disorders, so they are often in that position of sleeping separately because they're trying to improve their sleep, and they often feel like they're forced into that position. But I guess what the AASM, or the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, is talking about is, to a large degree, is that mixture of people who are also choosing to sleep apart for various reasons.
I mean, don't get me wrong, some nights when my husband is super snoring, I would love to just go to another bed. But we don't have any spare bedrooms anymore because we've turned them all into studios. So there you go. I just have to put earplugs in. Dan, I'm really interested too in other aspects of sleep, because when I started the show, I said that, told the listeners we were talking to you, and I've always loved sleep. Like, even as mum still, I was a great sleeper as a baby. I could fall asleep anywhere as a child. As I've gotten older, it's gotten a bit harder, sadly, but I look forward to going non-eyes. And how many hours sleep, I've always wanted to know, are we supposed to get? Is it the 8 hours? I've read we need more. I've read we need less. What is it, Dan?
Well, I work clinically with people, so I tend to look more at the research. I think I look more closely at the research, and I would go off the analyses of the what they call a meta-analysis, which is not just a single study, but actually when they put all the studies together, seems pretty consistently that people will get about, once they're sort of 30 plus, I say, is around about 7 hours. 7.5 is pretty normal. 8 is probably less common. If you're under the age of sort of 29, you might be in that 8-hour range, and certainly if you're in teenage years, you should be, 8 would be a minimum, and probably 9 is far more healthy. So it's not quite what you might think. And then as you tend to get it, well, actually, some of the studies suggest that it's actually a little bit of a U, so a U shape. So when you're sort of in your 20s, you're getting close to that 7.5-ish, and then when you're in your 40s, you might be at the minimum for your sleep, maybe 6.5, and then it seems that when people get into their older years, things might be improving again, even though they probably are a little bit more fragmented. So they might be reporting back up to 7.5. Yeah.
Okay, so it's all kind of close to that 8 hours, depending on your age. So, is it also quite common? I mean, people wake up in the night, don't they? Is there an average to people waking up? Necessarily, you just wake up, whether it needs to go to the toilet, you just wake up?
Yeah, most people experience 1 to 2 awakenings per night that they'll remember. Now, what's important to note is that there's actually usually a pretty big difference between what people subjectively report, so what you remember and what you say you experienced, versus actually what you'll find on an objective analysis with something like an EEG. So if you look in the EEG, people get maybe, in terms of arousals from sleep, they'll get maybe, depending on your age, it might be quite normal to get sort of 10 to 16 arousals, but you'll probably only remember 1 or 2.
Oh, okay.
And younger people tend to be the 1, and older people tend to be the 2. And then the amount of time tends to differ with age as well.